I have a certain soft spot for director John Frankenheimer. From directing live television drama in the 1950s to topical thrillers of the 1960s, a varied assortment of genre scaffolds throughout the 70s and 80s, and then mostly back to television in the 90s, to me Frankenheimer represents one of the most fascinating, if not most intriguing for me, director for hires. So, which is to say, director, not writer. I'd consider it a remarkable skill to be able to spin a screenplay you like into some cinematic sorcery it might not have been otherwise. Frankenheimer had this ability, much like Zinnemann, and much like Lumet, with whom he worked as an assistant director for some time. Frankenheimer would read someone else's work and translate it into a classic picture. It's all well and good to figure out how your own story will look, but another to acknowledge a screenplay's prowess and then to position a camera crew around it. I find this to be an equally remarkable skill as those who write and subsequently direct. One notable and interesting example of Frankenheimer's ability is found within 1977's Black Sunday, penned by three different screenwriters adapting a Thomas Harris novel, his only non-Hannibal work as it would happen. Frankenheimer seems to have intended to extract from it, and one imagines the producers certainly desired, a Manchurian candidate for the 70s. Taking the political thriller mold he helped pioneer, Frankenheimer wades it into the 70s not as a conspiracy thriller, but as a disaster picture not far removed from Owen Allen's blockbusters. It does contain strains of 70s anti-establishment disillusionment, namely in its Vietnam vet antagonist, though not overtly sympathetically, it might be noted. Aside from the political conspiracy thrillers, Black Sunday's emphasis on the big sporting event recalls Frankenheimer's work on 1966's Grand Prix as well. So anyway, just so we're all on the same page, Black Sunday pertains Bruce Dern's plot to use a Goodyear blimp to commit a suicide bomb attack at the Super Bowl. He is accompanied by a Palestinian terrorist played by Martha Keller. Tracking them is Robert Shaw portraying a Mossad agent. Wait a minute, you ask. Is this Zionist propaganda? By the standards of anyone who would ask that, yes. But by regular standards? Well, maybe somewhat. But it's no radon on top. Any of the three. I mean, the film isn't completely black and white, but it may as well have been. This isn't an ethical, holier-than-thou condemnation of this film, but actually I'm somewhat impressed they made as mild an effort as they did, at times, to portray, with sympathy, the two terrorist players, because given the film's ultimate trajectory as an action thriller blockbuster and its good guys versus bad guys conclusion, it really did not have to. Bruce Dern's Vietnam veteran domestic terrorist is well and truly let down by his country, the film communicates, although he is firmly depicted as a nasty creature. His eventual mistreatment and abuse of Martha Keller's character is what makes us dislike him more than anything. Martha Keller's character, the Palestinian, is portrayed with some degree of nuance and sympathy. Hey, Robert Shaw's character certainly believes so for a time. Part of the plot's catalyst is Shaw's Mossad agent choosing to spare her life during a raid near the film's opening. Unfortunately for him, this burdens him with the responsibility of halting her further attempts at espionage in the United States. Oh well. Of course, she begins to have second thoughts throughout the second half of the film, though without giving too much away, this does not really add up to much at all. If I may spoil, she does not follow through to the end of any proposed redemption arc. So moving on to the filmmaking, now that we're through with the writing, how did Frankenheimer choose to communicate this high-energy narrative? Well, with superb technical finesse, he did. Black Sunday is really one of the most filmmaking adept of Frankenheimer's catalogue. While the film is admirably constructed at any given time in all the typical boring facets, dialogue scenes, smaller scale shootouts and quick montages, it is when the Super Bowl itself takes place when this film's prowess is truly unleashed. A masterwork of film editing takes place, as the Super Bowl cuts between the plotting on the blimp and the frantic rush of Shaw's protagonist to foil Dern's diabolical plan. Eventually, the blimp nears closer and closer to the stadium, and the absolute editing onslaught which takes place here is absolutely astounding. What an elaborate production, to source so much crowd footage, to craft all the shots and sequences of crushing debris, falling pieces of sports arena, and many cuts to that incoming, or at this stage, crashing, blimp. This sequence was actually benefited from being shot at Super Bowl X in 1976. Well, at least the game was filmed. The sequence of the crashing blimp was sourced from the same stadium, Miami Orange Bowl, 2 weeks later, cast of hired extras rather than burdening ticket-paying football fans. The Miami Dolphins were placed in the uniforms of the two Super Bowl teams for this second shoot. But yes, this ending sequence is what truly makes Black Sunday for me, and I urge anyone to view it to witness that spectacle alone. I do feel as though the plot leading up to it is engaging and intriguing as well. Witnessing how these two individuals organise and arrange their terrorist actions is rather fascinating. Aside from being obviously very well directed, it is a rather well plotted Hollywood thriller. Nothing existential or ethereal, but certainly contains admirable narrative beats. This film, produced by Paramount, was intended to be a smash success. The film tested very highly to focus group audiences, and so everyone involved was highly anticipating a smash hit. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, this film did not inspire an enclave of ticket purchases in April of 1977. You might be wondering how a film about the Super Bowl, shot at the Super Bowl and featuring a disaster set piece in the era of Irwin Allen's blockbusters, did not do too well in America. Well, according to Frankenheimer, he believes that the reason this film was not a smash success was that this film inadvertently followed a less expensive, universal distributed gridiron disaster thriller called 2 Minute Warning. That film was released in November the previous year and had been a known critical and commercial failure. I have not seen it, I don't hold any personal opinion on that particular film. I mean, perhaps audiences were slightly tired of films about darker subject matter, even if they did take place at the beloved Super Bowl game. Then again, did American audiences really want to watch a simulation of the Super Bowl being attacked by a terrorist hijacked Goodyear blimp? Maybe they didn't. I certainly would have, however. And I do now. Black Sunday is an electrifying, fun disaster thriller for my man Frankenheimer, and I consider it one of his better works overall. Sometimes you just want to watch an effective, mostly one-note thriller, and Black Sunday allows for just exactly that. Thank you, John Frankenheimer, so very much.